Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2024 is already setting itself up for a huge year. With so much stuff coming out, it could be really hard to keep in track of it. Well, no worries, not only will I be keeping you up to date, I'm even going to be telling you guys some secret things that you need to know about that will be happening. These secrets are really important because once you have this information, it actually gives you a lot of insight on what Konami is going to do and also can save you a ton of money and time throughout the year. Of course, if being knowledgeable about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is something that you may like, then I consider that you stick around and maybe even let us know down below in the comment section what's your favorite part and what else you want to know. Let's jump on in. So the first thing I think we should talk about is we should give kudos to Konami. They're actually fixing some of their old problems. Previously, before, Konami would give you the information of a YCS date a little bit too late for you to be able to prepare for. And my fingers are crossed this time around because they gave us ample time for 5 YCSs, and hopefully this trend continues. Our current slate in 2024 will be a Latin America Remote Duel YCS Championship in January. Then in February, we'll have 2 Team YCSs, one in San Jose, Costa Rica, and then one in Las Vegas, Nevada. In April 20th, there will be a North Carolina YCS, and then on June 1st, there will be an Indianapolis YCS. I do want to add to this that there should be more YCSs between April and June here, so be on the lookout for when that happens. Konami has been doing a great job at updating it the moment that it happens, and if we get it anytime in January, it gives players an ample amount of time to be able to prepare. Already off the bat, you can tell that 2024 is going to be completely different than 2023, but there's also another huge change that has happened, and it all starts around the ban list. The January 1st, 2024 ban list is different than the ban list that we've had in quite some time. It hit almost every single competitive deck, but also made some bizarre hits. What I'm talking about is how the ban list did address powerful decks like Unchained and Rescue Ace, but then also addressed decks like Math Mech and Rika, which left a lot of players confused. On surface, it might seem undeserving, but when you start to realize that Konami is on a cycle, then you start to realize that not only were those hits necessary, you also can know where to put your money into and where not to put your money into. See, about every 2 years, Konami will release a ban list like this, addressing just about every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck in the meta, killing some of the older strategies and toning down some of the new ones. And Konami does have a formula for this. They make a particular Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set the baseline, and then make hits determining off of that Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set. In this case, the booster set was Power of the Elements. Power of the Elements came out almost 2 years ago and introduced Tier Limit, Math Mech, Sprite, and Rika. And as you can see, Konami did start with the set Power of the Elements and moved on forward, addressing every deck that needed to be hit in those, and also making sure some of the older strategies became a lot less playable. But why? Well, as much as players don't know it, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a rotation-based game, kind of like Pokemon and Magic. The only difference is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't prevent you from playing sets. They just hit the particular strategies in the set so hard that they become unplayable or not as good as some of the newer stuff being released. It's a dirty tactic, but now you know. It also means that Konami is going to be using another booster set as a baseline, and a lot of people think that it's Phantom Nightmare. Phantom Nightmare is set to release in 2024 on February 9th, and it's going to be giving support to Archfiend, Aroma, Diabellstar, Draco Slayer, and a host of other strategies. It already has a card in the set that is on everybody's radar in Snake Eyes Populace. This is going to make the Snake Eyes engine a lot stronger, and it's going to make the Snake Eyes deck its own playable strategy too. But even though this set looks incredibly promising, there's actually a reason why I think it may be the opposite of Power of the Elements, and it may seem a little bit foolish. Now, you're probably going to think that I have a tinfoil hat on my head when I say this, but Phantom Nightmare is probably going to be one of the worst booster sets we've had in 3 years. Why? Because it's red. You know, we 55th Street over here, boy. But in all seriousness, I want you guys to go on Google and type in Booster Pack Rainbow and look at all of the corresponding red sets from the last 20 years. I mean, hell, I'll do it for you. Flaming of Eternity, Strike of Neos, Crimson Crisis, Storm of Ragnarok, Cosmos Blazer, Secrets of Eternity, Blazing Vortex, every single one of those sets. Now, I'm not saying that those sets did not have good cards in them. The last one in Blazing Vortex gave us Pot of Prosperity. But the problem for these red Yu-Gi-Oh! Sets for the last 20 years is that they have all been substandard. And it's not even coincidence that Konami is doing this. Take for example all of the green sets. Soul of the Duelist, Power of the Duelist, the Duelist Genesis, Duelist Revolution, Return of the Duelist, Duelist Alliance, Code of the Duelist, Rise of the Duelist, Duelist Nexus. You notice in a pattern here? Every single one of those sets had Duelist in its name, but if you look a little bit more under the hood, you'll actually find out that every single one of those sets introduce something new as well. So as you can see, Konami is pretty deliberate in what they do, and it's not a bad idea to have a terrible Yu-Gi-Oh set every once in a while. You actually need a Yu-Gi-Oh set like Phantom Nightmare every once in a while to help balance out some of the powerful sets that you'll be putting out, and it also allows you to be able to analyze the game and take steps forward or backwards depending on the situation that you're in. Now I think that baseline set could have actually been Age of Overlords. Just like Power of the Elements, it had two really strong strategies that just came out, the Diabell Star Engine and Horus, and it also supported two older strategies that just so happen to have not getting hit on the ban list, Labyrinth and Viscus. And ironically, the comparisons really don't stop there. There is a powerful generic Link boss monster, another generic extra deck monster that can be used to answer your opponent's threats, subtle support to other Yu-Gi-Oh decks that make them really good, and some pretty powerful Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are just waiting to be exploited in due time. Okay, so Dark Old Dragon might be copium, but let me cope. I think Age of Overlord just might be that set that Konami uses like Power of the Elements, and that means that there's going to be some pretty important cards you're going to need for 2024. It's pretty obvious that players are going to need Diabell Star, the Black Witch, and Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, but some sleeper cards to go with it that you should be watching out for is other monsters like Flame Urge and Divine Temple. The deck really starts to become its own with Maze of Millennia and Phantom Nightmare giving it support, and then there's also monsters like Snake Eye Ash and Snake Eye Oat, which are really good. Make sure you also pick up the Horus engine, because if Diabell Star is like Tier Limit from Power of the Elements, then Horus is easily like Sprite, incredibly versatile, and can be played in so many other strategies. And if you're considering picking any of the decks in Age of Overlord, they are getting support whether it's directly or indirectly over the course of the year. It could be from Maze of Millennia or Phantom Nightmare, or possibly even later on with some other sets. But if you're looking for other decks outside of Age of Overlord, then consider the Fire King structure deck, or maybe even look into the Maze of Millennia or even the Phantom Nightmare set. There's actually a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that are getting support. What I would try to avoid is picking a strategy that isn't getting support inside of one of these sets that I mentioned, and it's not because I think that the deck will be bad or anything, but you do limit the potential on how powerful your deck can be and how viable it will last. But that actually brings me to my last and final secret with Yu-Gi-Oh! Unfortunately, even though we did get the Legendary Collection Rarity set, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to be expensive again in 2024. Because of how rotations in Yu-Gi-Oh! Work, a lot of us, if we had one of those older decks that was hit on the ban list, were going to be phased out and have to eventually get one of the newer strategies. On top of that, there are already cards that are pretty expensive that feel like a must-need to be able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards like SP Little Knight are over $100 with no reprint in sight. I genuinely wish that Konami took a different route with this approach, because having budget cards accessible for everyone just means that there will be more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players playing the game. But to be honest with you, that sounds like something for a totally different video. Oh, I almost forgot. One of the most important things that will happen to us in 2024 is that we are very much likely due for a new Master Rule update. The last time that we received a Master Rule update was in 2020, which was 4 years ago, and if you follow Konami's pattern, they actually update the Master Rule formula about every 3 to 4 years. Now, what's likely to change is incredibly interesting. Because of the Master Rule in 2020, we were allowed to special summon fusions, Exceeds, Synchro monsters to the main monster zone without needing Link monsters, but before that, the 2017 Master Rule update actually gave us Link monsters. Seeing that Link monsters will already be 7 years old, I think that it's possible that Konami could be introducing a new gameplay mechanic, but they could also be changing up some rules, which I would more than welcome, especially if it fixes some of the problems. Now, as far as when this announcement will be made, that's actually not hard. There's 3 opportunities for Konami to announce something like this: a 25th anniversary celebration that would happen after Konami stops printing quarter century rares, which will be the set after Phantom Nightmare. They could also make a date towards the middle of the year. And lastly, I think the biggest opportunity for them to make an announcement like this would be sometime in August after the World Championship. Regardless, I think we are guaranteed to hear some type of announcement during that time, and I'm pretty excited to hear what's going to be next for Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2024. But that's pretty much all that I have. I think that I hit all of Konami's secrets that are going to be happening. Of course, if you think that I missed a particular secret, go ahead and let us know down below in the comment section. But until then, you can check out some other amazing content, and I'll catch you on the next one.